You're a beneficiary of a trust, money that's supposed to come to you. And the trustee, the person in charge of it, isn't distributing it, or they're spending trust money on things that don't make sense, or you simply don't trust the numbers they're giving you anymore. So, can you sue them? The short answer, yes, you can. But here's what almost nobody understands going in. Not every disagreement with a trustee is something a court will act on. There's a very specific legal line between I don't like this decision and this decision breaks the law. Knowing where that line is changes everything about whether a lawsuit will actually work. This video's for educational purposes only. It isn't legal advice because every trust in every situation is different. But let's talk about how this generally works. Here's the first thing to understand. A trustee isn't just managing money. The law puts them under a specific legal obligation called fiduciary duty. That word's going to matter a lot in a minute. But here's the second thing, which is where a lot of people can get tripped up. You can't sue a trustee just because you don't like their choices. You have to be able to point to something specific that they did wrong. So, what actually counts? Let's start with that word, fiduciary duty. It sounds complicated, but it just means that the trustee has to act in the best interest of the beneficiaries, not in their own interest. And they have to follow the terms of the trust document. It's one of the highest legal standards there is. So when a trustee violates that duty, that's usually what's called a breach of fiduciary duty. And that's generally the legal basis for suing them. So what does a breach actually look like? A few common examples include mismanaging trust assets, like making reckless investments or simply failing to manage the assets at all. Self-dealing is another one, using trust money or property for the trustee's own benefit. Failing to distribute assets according to this trust instructions would be another, or failing to keep beneficiaries reasonably informed, or refusing to provide an accounting of what's happened with the trust's money. Playing favorites among beneficiaries when the trust doesn't call for that could be another one. Here's a misconception though. Disagreeing with a trustee's judgment call isn't automatically a breach of fiduciary duty. Trustees are usually given some discretion, the ability to make reasonable decisions within the bounds that the trust sets. If a trustee makes a conservative investment choice you wouldn't have made, that's not necessarily a breach. If a trustee refuses to distribute money the trust document clearly says should go to you, then that's a very different story. Let's say, for example, Marcus is a beneficiary of his late father's trust. The trustee, his father's business partner, has been managing the trust for 2 years. In that time, Marcus notices the trustee bought himself a boat, and trust account statements show unexplained withdrawals. When Marcus asks for a full accounting, the trustee stalls and then refuses. That's not just Marcus being unhappy, that's self-dealing, a failure to account, and potentially mismanagement, all recognized grounds to take legal action. Compare that to Marcus's sister in a different trust, who's frustrated that the trustee is being cautious and only distributing a small amount each year, even though the trust document actually gives the trustee that discretion. Marcus's sister doesn't like it, but the trustee is doing exactly what the document allows. It's not a breach, it's just a decision that she disagrees with. The same emotion, frustration with a trustee, but very different legal footing. So to directly answer the question, yes, you generally can sue a trustee, but only when you can point to an actual breach of their legal duties, not simply a decision you wouldn't have made yourself. If a trustee has engaged in self-dealing, mismanaged assets, refused to provide an accounting, or failed to follow the trust's clear instructions, a beneficiary typically has legal grounds to take action, which can include petitioning the court to compel an accounting, or asking the court to remove the trustee, or seeking compensation for losses that the breach of fiduciary duty caused. But whether a specific situation actually arises to that level depends entirely on the facts. What the trust document says, what discretion it gives the trustee, what actually happened, and what state you're in. This video is general information, not an evaluation of your situation. Only an attorney who's reviewed the trust and the specific conduct involved can tell you whether you have a claim that's worth pursuing. So if something about how a trust is being handled doesn't sit right with you, that instinct is worth taking seriously. You don't have to sort out whether it's a real legal issue on your own. You can contact the attorneys at Woodbury and Ybarra, mention this video to get a free consultation. They're experienced and have a lot of years specializing in these type of issues. Again, mention this video. The website and phone number are located below in the description.